not very long ago, it was required for a man to commit to a woman to be able to have sex. It was required, at least for most men, for what they knew of, for a man to marry a woman before the woman would bear his children. But those times are long gone. From the sexual revolution came a culture where women are empowered to be promiscuous and have casual sex. This dynamic is praised in modern culture. Where there was once long-term relationships, now there's nothing but a bunch of situationships. Now, what is a situationship? A situationship is a romantic or sexual relationship that lacks clear labels, commitment, or long-term expectations. It's more than just like a one-time casual hookup, but less than a traditional relationship. More and more women are getting stuck in situations for months and even years as more and more average and mid-women are trying to get commitment from men that are out of their league. If you ask these women whose fault is it that the situationship is persisting, they will always blame the men instead of taking accountability for the type of man they choose to spend their time with. Now, I'd like to give a little bit of a caveat. So there's a few different types of situationships that I see. So there's situationship number one, which is a woman sleeping with a guy that's out of her league. This can go on for months and even years. Now, this type of situationship is on and off. Oftentimes, the woman will go back to this guy throughout her entire life. So in between marriages, she'll go back. In between boyfriends, she'll go back. This is the ultimate guy that the woman wanted. This is the Jack, of modern women. Now, there is a different type of situationship that I also see. And this is a guy that a woman sleeps with but is embarrassed of. So oftentimes you hear from these guys, and you may laugh, but this is a problem for certain men, that the women always want sex and never commitment. Now, men that have never been in that position can't even fathom this, but these are the men that are chosen to be side dude material, where the women could not see themselves getting along with the man. Maybe they're embarrassed to be with that man in public, but they just cannot, for whatever reason, see it long term, but they like the sex or maybe even the comfort of the situationship. You also see the fat chicks that men bang and they don't really know their place, but those are really the different types of situationships I see. And I was thinking about the experience of men and women, and I noticed that you can compare a situationship with an older woman to a young man in the friend zone with an attractive woman. And I would argue it's up to the man to end a relationship with a woman that he's putting effort into but not getting the sex from. Just like it's a woman's responsibility to end things with a man that she's not getting commitment from. Women say all the time that they know right when they meet a man if they would sleep with them or not. I think it's the same for men. It won't take long for a man to realize if he wanted, he would be in a relationship with a woman. Sort of. Okay, so I did a poll and I was kind of curious about this. So I polled men, I polled people, what is the longest situationship you've been in? So 30% of situationships, this is over 2,000 people, so this is a decent sample size, under a year. 1 to 3 years, 20%. 10% say 3 to 5 years. And the majority of situationships are over 5 years long. And when I got this poll, I realized that's longer than most marriages. Many situationships last longer than most marriages. Now, I also did a poll today asking men if they've ever promoted, let me find it. Fellas, have you, because me and Doug and Pierre were talking before the show, and I don't agree at all that situationships the women always lose. And his initial thought was that if a man doesn't know in a year if he's going to marry you, he's never going to. And I think it's a generational difference. But that's not what I've seen at all. Or make you his girlfriend. And I'm being honest here. That is not at all what I've seen. I've seen about 50-50. Half of situationships get left in the dust and half actually get what they want, even after 1 to 3 years. There's winners and there's losers in this life. Now, there was a girl in school and she was dating... I knew in school, and she was dating, let's just call him Chad. And to be honest, the whole time I would watch her and I would think that she was stupid, right? And I would think that she was dumb, an idiot. Chad will never take you seriously. You know, I recently checked in her profile and she's pregnant with his kid now, so I was wrong. That girl was in a 4-year situationship. 4 years and won. But for every winner, there's a loser, right? And I knew another girl that was in an on and off situationship with, let's call him Tyrone. And it was on and off for years, and no, he never took her seriously. I would say probably she wasn't good looking enough. Neither were, right? Both. The one guy did bald early, so maybe that helped. I don't know. Now, the women that win and the women that lose, I'd like to say there's no guaranteed outcomes. There's just strategies. But the women that I saw win, the strategy they would enact is they wouldn't bring up commitment, and they would just work to give the man the most positive experience possible. Now, the women that would nag the man constantly about what are we and da-da-da-da-da, I didn't really see them winning. So I was curious. I wanted to poll the people, and this is a smaller poll. I wanted to poll and see what the people had seen. Because in my experience, from what I've seen, it's about 50-50. Maybe 60-40, with 60% of situationships stay that way, 40%. And I promoted a situationship to my girlfriend or wife. And this was asking men. 32% said they have done that. 30% just wanted to see results. 37% said they'd never done that. And that's about what I've seen. I've also seen men on the losing side of a situationship where the girl's just a little hotter than him or has more choice. And he wants to be in a relationship, you know, and she doesn't. But my question is for the men, I really want to hear about your situationships. You know, what is the longest situationship you've been in? Why was it a situationship? And what made you stay in it for so long? And did you ever promote her? Or maybe you were on the end of wanting to be promoted. Did you get promoted? So we're going to watch some TikToks on situationships, and then you guys can call in.
You know how they say it's always harder to get over someone that you never actually dated? Well, I would like to add something to that. Not only is it harder to get over someone that you never dated, it is the hardest to get over.
Someone said, I know a guy who's been in one for 35 years. Seems like a great story. Call in.
Over someone that you never dated, that you also met in a very serendipitous way. And I know for a fact that is why it was so hard for me to get over a couple of the men that I was involved with in my 20s. And mind you, these are men that I never was in a committed relationship, but because of the way that I met them in these crazy, unexpected, out of the blue fairy tale ways.
Yeah, so when they say I met him in a fairy tale way, it just means he has a script. He's very good at running. So he's got like a routine that he's good at, like putting women in.
It made it near.
Women are the ones in situationships. Most of the time, they're older women that are desperate for a relationship and get one. Doug MPA, I've seen it both ways. Honestly, these days, I'm being honest. I see a good amount of men in situationships with young women where they want, it's like they want the situationship to be taken seriously, but the women are young. They're like, no, just sex. I've seen it both ways. The older women, younger man. Yeah. I mean, that's another one that you see.
Nearly impossible for me to think that it wasn't destiny for me to be with them. So yeah, granted, they were definitely showing me in the moment who they were as people, even if their actions were not aligning with their words at all, even if they were hot and cold and treating me terribly.
Women close to hitting the wall will accept situations. If I'm being honest, guys, I saw it the most in school. That was like when I was in college, more women were in situationships than relationships. And some of them, it was on their terms. Some of them, it wasn't. But if I'm just being real here, that's what I saw it the most. And I'm not trying to like white knight for women, right? I'm just like, I have to go with what I'm seeing with my eyes. So, yeah.
simply just did not care because I was like, well, I met them in this way and this is how I've always wanted to meet someone. So therefore it's just going to have to work out somehow. And then I would get stuck in like very on and off situationships with people that sometimes lasted up to 2 years. So on top of already being someone who tends to project her daydreamed fantasies onto people in the real world, even if they are showing the complete opposite. Add to that the fact that since I was a little girl, I've always wanted to meet someone in that like Disney princess way. Of course, it was hard for me to let go of these men. Like, why wouldn't it have been hard? Like, one of the guys that I'm referring to, he actually chased me down as I was pulling out of my parking lot to go to my friend's house. Like, he waved me down and made me stop my car and then ask for my number. And then the other person I met while I was on vacation, just hit it off right away. We got along so well that we ended up spending like every single night together for the rest of the time that I was there. And then we just happened to either run into each other or see each other for the next 2 years after that, completely unplanned. And mind you, this person and I both live in different countries. Like, there's no way that that's a coincidence. So it was situations like that where I would either keep running into the person or the way that I met them genuinely made me believe that this was going to be how it played out with this person. Like, it was meant to be. And I think unless you've been through this yourself, or unless you are a very imaginative person and you have a very clear idea of like how you want things to play out, which I know you can't even control that, you really won't understand how difficult it is to let go of people that you do meet in these unexpected and serendipitous ways. Like, I don't know, in my mind, it's just a lot easier for me to get over someone that I meet on a dating app versus someone that I meet like in the wild, completely unplanned and unexpected. Trust me when I say that I've been through this situation enough times now to know that the way that you meet someone really does not play into the kind of person that they are at all. Definitely had to learn that one the hard way, but I'm just saying, if you are someone that has also found it way more difficult to let go of people that you met in these crazy ways, you are not alone. Because I stand by the theory that the people that you meet in these kinds of ways are 10 times harder to let go.
Okay, yeah, and what you get is when you meet a guy in a crazy way, he's practiced that, so he's got choice.
Oh, I've been in a situation for 6 fucking years now. I cannot believe I just said that on camera. But I'm so fucking over it. I'm so over it. Basically, this boy and I started dating when we were in high school. And like, honestly, that shit was so toxic. Like, we were both stubborn as fuck and we would just argue constantly.
So what happens is women will always go back to the most alpha guy of their past. So sometimes women find that guy in high school. Sometimes we find that guy in college. Sometimes we find that guy in the workforce. But usually, especially women, I want you guys to know, if there's a woman that gives you a really low body count and she's not lying, there's some ex that has a subscription still. I'm just letting you know.
But anyways, he broke up with me. I was so sad, but then we remained really close friends and eventually just basically...
Because you guys have to think about it. Women are getting, thrown at us 24/7. And I want you, when you start looking at sex as a need, women's behavior makes way more sense, and it humanizes us in a way. Women, men, it would be like, women, they're going to find a way to take care of that need. And obviously women, we're going to do it in the most manipulative ways possible. And exes are a great way to do it.
Continue to date, but without label. And then we both went to the same fucking college, so we weren't...
She picked that college.
...really dating then either, but we continued this whatever the fuck that was going on, and that shit fucked with my head because it felt so much like a relationship that when I got upset at things, like, which... If you're in a relationship, it's totally valid, but because we weren't, it wasn't justified. And so I kept feeling all these things that I wasn't technically allowed to feel because we weren't dating. Like, I've always been really shy with like dating and all of that. Like, I don't really know how to flirt. Fuck me. I'm 23 and I can't flirt. And the thing is, it was on off. But because for me, I was so scared to like meet other people because I was so comfortable in this little like security blanket that...
Yeah. So a lot of times, guys, when you're meeting a woman and she's acting weird, there's someone in the background. Like if you start thinking, I can tell she likes me, but there's something holding me back or whatever. I promise to God, either she doesn't like you at all or there's someone in the background.